Sejam todos bem-vindos e bem-vindas para mais um encontro do Diálogos de um Rabino. Como vocês sabem, nossos encontros têm o apoio da Helbor, da Fullwood e da Rossetti. E eles acontecem como uma oportunidade para eu me manter em contato com vocês daqui de Nova York, trazendo pessoas interessantes, importantes, que têm alguma coisa a contribuir com Tikkun Olam, com o aprimoramento do universo. E desde que a guerra começou entre Hamas e Israel, nós temos trazido pessoas de Israel para conversarem conosco e para trazerem também um pouco da sua perspectiva a respeito de tudo que está acontecendo e desse mundo que se criou a partir do 7 de outubro. E dessa vez eu tenho a oportunidade de conversar com um amigo, um novo amigo. A gente se conheceu 5, 6 meses atrás em um encontro inter-religioso que aconteceu em Oxford. O encontro é organizado por uma instituição norte-americana de diálogo, junto com o Vaticano, em parceria com o Vaticano. E o Padre Beni, está aqui conosco na tela. Eu vou te apresentar. Padre Beni Benedetto tem um doutorado em poesia hebraica moderna, e ele serve na St. James Vicariate for Hebrew-Speaking Catholics in Israel. Ou seja, ele é um padre em Jerusalém falando com católicos que falam hebraico. A gente já vai entender isso um pouquinho melhor, e ele é muito envolvido no diálogo interreligioso em geral, e em particular o diálogo católico-judaico, de várias formas diferentes. Então, Padre Beni, primeiro, muito obrigado por estar aqui conosco. Ele entende português, então eu vou fazer minhas perguntas para ele em português, ele vai responder um pouco em espanhol, um pouco em hebraico, um pouco em inglês e um pouco em português também, na língua que ele se sentir à vontade. O importante é que a gente estabeleça esse contato e que a gente converse um pouquinho. Padre Beni, comece, por favor, contando um pouquinho da tua história, como você foi parar na literatura hebraica e como você foi parar em Israel e como você foi parar no diálogo católico-judaico.
Okay. So I will answer in English.
No problem at all.
Because I'm not confident to speak in Portuguese, though I understand everything, but I can't. Well, my story with the Hebrew language and with Judaism started like over 24 years ago when I was back in Italy. I'm Italian. And I went to college, and I knew that I wanted to study languages and literatures. So I chose Spanish. That was my first choice. And as a second choice, I needed to take a language from another cultural area. It couldn't have been another European or Romance language. So I ended up with Arabic and Hebrew. And then I decided to study Hebrew because those were the first years where I was coming back to my Christian practice, going back to church. And then I thought to myself, if I know enough biblical Hebrew, I can read the Bible in the original, so I don't need translation. And that's why I started with biblical Hebrew. But after 1 year, I got tired with the grammar rules, and I couldn't speak the language, so I switched to modern Hebrew. And then that's why it all started. But then I came to know real Jews, which I've never met before, because I come from Naples. In Naples, there is only 200 Jews, and the community is very small, and I never met any Jew. And then eventually I moved to Rome to work there. And in Rome, there's a much wider, bigger community. It's for Italy, it's big. It's 2,000 Jews. It's not that big. But I got very involved in the Jewish life. People were tending shops and stores near my house would invite me to their homes for Shabbos meals or for services in the synagogue. So I really became very, very familiar with the Jewish tradition, Jewish faith. And in 2008, I started the PhD in modern Hebrew poetry. And my research took me to Israel just for 2 weeks. After these 2 weeks, I came back for 40 days. And after these 40 days, I came back for 1 year, which never ended, because after the PhD, I decided to become a priest here for the Hebrew-speaking Catholics in Israel, and this is my 14th year in Jerusalem. So this is just to make it very, very short.
Ok. And who is your... quem é o teu público? Católicos que falam hebraico em Israel? Quem são esses católicos que falam hebraico em Israel?
Well, it's very interesting because we are a very small community. We reach the 1,000 people in the whole country, split in 5 congregations. So here in Jerusalem, I'm the pastor of the biggest community, which is about 120 people, and it originated with the founding of the state of Israel. So in the early 50s, we have already the first pioneers coming from Europe after hearing about the horrors of the Holocaust. People who wanted to come to the newborn state of Israel to contribute to reconciliation between the church and the Jewish people. Some of these pioneers were Jews who converted in Europe themselves, or people who had some Jewish origin. So they moved into the newborn state of Israel and started working with the Christians who came in with the law of return, but which had a double identity, either because they married Jews in Europe, but they were Christians here, or people who had Jewish origins and emigrate to Israel. We are still in the early 50s, where everyone who was who considered himself Jewish could emigrate to Israel. Then you know that after the case with Daniel Rufeisen, the law became a little bit more strict, that you don't have only to be born by a Jewish mother, you also have not to be converted to another religion. But back then, all sorts of people who would identify as Jewish would come.
Mm-hmm.
And so these priests put together these families who could not integrate in the local church, which is an Arab-speaking church. And then little by little, this became a vicariate. This became a community. Now, we are almost 70 years later. Our communities are very, very rich in terms of diversity. We have people who are married to Israeli Jews, people whose parents or grandparents were Jewish, people who come from the former Soviet Union. We have new immigrants like Filipinos, like Africans, like asylum seekers, and of course we also have Israeli Jews who decide to become Christians, and we welcome them in our community. Even if I mean sometimes people get baptized in other church affiliations, but then they decide to become Catholic, or some others do the whole process with us. It's a very minority. We have like a small amount of Jewish people, but what we have in common is sharing the culture and the language with the people of Israel. And we want to be part of the society. We don't want to be considered like a minority or something external who is living here. We're really very, very rooted into the society. Our youth serve in the army. For example, now in these times, but probably we will tackle it later on. But we have about 120 Christian soldiers from our congregation serving in the army right now, and so on. So we have different kinds of generations. We have from Holocaust survivors. The oldest one is a 102-year-old nun who was born in Bulgaria into a Jewish family, became Catholic and survived the Holocaust and moved to, this was still Palestine in 1941. And then the youngest one are those who are born here and now. So we have about 100-year span of generations.
Você poderia dizer que o envolvimento da tua comunidade com a sociedade israelense é similar ao que acontece com a comunidade drusa, por exemplo, com os drusos?
Yeah, I would say it's something similar, but probably in certain aspects of rights, probably the Druze enjoy more and better rights than Christians. So,
por quê? Explica isso para mim.
But I think probably because it's they've been here before. They are more integrated, and also they have a special status because they live in between, three countries, Israel, Syria, and Lebanon. So they have like kind of extra rights. And just now, recently there was a discussion about giving them more rights because of their engagement in the army. So we are still behind because we are a younger phenomenon. We didn't have this huge number of Christian soldiers in IDF as we have now. And most of these children of us who are serving, they come from Filipino families or from Ethiopian families. People who came here in the early 2000s to work, and their children were born and raised here, and they received citizenship, so they serve in the army. But we have many more Christian children born in Israel who don't have the same rights because they were born after 2005, 2006. So Israel is not giving them citizenship. So in these terms, I would say Druses are a little bit better than us.
E as comunidades cristãs que falam árabe também participam do exército ou só a comunidade que fala hebraico?
No, if Christian Arabs want to serve in the army, they can volunteer and they can be taken, but they are not obliged. Christians who are not Arabs and they have citizenship or residency, they do have, like any other Israeli.
Ah, entendi. É uma obrigação como todo outro israelense.
Yeah.
E me conta um pouquinho, então, antes da gente chegar na situação atual do conflito, nós nos encontramos num contexto de diálogo inter-religioso, né? De um diálogo católico-judaico. Quais são as iniciativas mais importantes que você vê hoje em Israel acontecendo de diálogo cristão-judaico?
Yeah, first of all, I would say we need to not to distinguish, but dialogue is a very wide concept, because I would say that each one of us living in intercultural society, in an interfaith society, we are all involved in dialogue. Since when we wake up in the morning and we go out and we go to the mini market, it's dialogue, because the mini market here near my house, the owner are Mexican Jews, but all those working there are Israeli Arabs who are Muslim, and I'm a Catholic priest, and we meet there every day. The guy where I buy flowers for my church, the owner is a Persian Jew, and the guy who sells the flower is a Muslim from East Jerusalem, and I'm the priest, and we are really good friends. So this is one level, the level of life, and this touches everybody. All of us, all our people work in the Israeli society at some level has to carry out some inter-religious dialogue. Some people don't like to reveal to everybody that they are Christians. So some of us also live their faith in a hidden way. But I would say the majority, we are like out of the closet as Christians in the Israeli society. Now, I would say in the recent years, I have seen a spike of inter-religious dialogue in Israel in terms of geographical displacement of it, because for many years, many things were done here in Jerusalem. Jerusalem is packed with religions, so it's easier. But now I see that also in Galilee and in the south, in the Negev, it's mushrooming all the time, and I receive invitations all the time. So probably people are starting to understand that if we want to find the solution to this conflict here, we need to involve religions as well. It's not only a political situation. On the other hand, unfortunately, 99% of the people who are willing to engage in interfaith dialogue don't represent the mainstream of their own religions. For Judaism, most of the people come from the conservative or reform movement. Now, some Orthodox exponents and rabbis are also entering it, but it is more of a progressive thing. And looking at the society, I don't know how much Israeli society is represented by these kinds of Judaisms. unfortunately, I think that we are living now in a time where the most extreme right wing and conservative and the nationalist and messianic Judaism is taking control. So, okay, it is mushrooming. It's happening almost everywhere in the country, but I really don't know how much the society is following. That's what I mean.
Nós vimos, infelizmente, algumas manifestações de ultra-ortodoxos contra cristãos. Você já teve alguma experiência pessoal ou a sua comunidade teve alguma experiência com isso?
Not my community, thank God. We must also say that, okay, we are not hidden, but we are not too explicit. So our place where we meet, where we pray, don't really look like churches. I mean, we don't have the bell tower. We don't have crosses. Especially myself, my community is really in the city center near Zion Square. For those who know Jerusalem, it's really the main street, Jaffa Street, and then the city center. We are just there. So we don't want to disturb anyone. We don't want to annoy anyone by being here. At the same time, we don't hide, but we really try not to call too much the eye and attention on us. When I go on down the street now, for example, I tend to hide my cross because the atmosphere in Jerusalem is not really the best. I mean, I've spent here 14 years. I've never had to hide my cross or my Christian identity, but nowadays I don't feel as safe as I used to be before.
Isso depois do 7 de outubro?
No, I'm talking about the recent development after with the current majority in the government. And I would say, if you are a fanatic and an intolerant person today, you feel much more at ease to express it because you feel kind of strong and protected. In the past, these people were minorities and they were operating mainly in the West Bank, but now you find them, they are everywhere in the streets, and you have this group of young people who are very violent, very aggressive, and you don't want to get in trouble with them.
O que é uma tristeza muito grande, né? Você ser um cristão em Jerusalém, que é uma cidade que se orgulha de ser uma cidade também muçulmana e também cristã e também armênia e também judaica, e você precisar esconder a sua cruz, esconder a sua identidade, é uma tristeza muito grande. Espero que isso seja algo que vá ser superado muito, muito em breve. E aí talvez isso seja um bom segue para a gente entrar no assunto do conflito. Como a vida da tua comunidade foi impactada pelo que aconteceu no dia 7 de outubro em diante?
Yeah, well, I consider myself fortunate because in almost 2 months of war, tomorrow will be 2 months, I only attended one funeral of one soldier who was related to my community. It could have been many more. Everyone in our community knows somebody, either from his family or from his friends, who is at war now. He's in the army, because of the reservists, the miluim here. Every family in Israel has multiple people fighting, and all my friends, basically all my Israeli friends, are there. I'm in touch with them. We have our youth, like I said, we have counted more than 120 Christian Catholic soldiers who are in different places in the war now. It was a shock. Since the beginning, we couldn't believe that this thing is happening right now. I mean, it sounds like a joke, but when it all happened on October 7th, I was in bed. It was Saturday morning, and I didn't have special plans on that day, so I decided to sleep in. And when I heard the first alarm, I stayed in bed because I said, it's not possible. This is Jerusalem. And then the second and the third and the fourth, And then at the sixth alarm, I said, okay, I think there's something wrong here. And when I turned my phone on, I found hundreds of, no, not hundreds, but dozens of messages of people telling me, what are we going to cancel? Because on that day we had catechism with the children, both in Tel Aviv and in Jerusalem. And we were all astonished because it sounded like this is impossible. And having access to the news live, and in Israel, it was really impressive because people from the south were calling to TV stations and they were put on air, like live. And you have this person saying, I am hiding in my shelter, but people are shooting all over the place, and you have it in your face, in your home. That was shocking. That was like nothing we have ever experienced before. So the community is very sad. We pray a lot every day and every week when we gather together. It's good to see that everybody's fine. It's very, very, very hard for all of us, and it's heartbreaking. Not only the war that is now carried out by the army, but there is a war into the society, which is very, very, very horrible to see. One of the things that broke my heart was a few days after the war broke. I was walking on the streets, and a young Jewish guy. It was like not Haredi, but modern Orthodox, Dati Leumi. He crossed the street just in order to spit on the face of a Muslim lady who was waiting for the tram. And it all happened in my face, and I was so filled with shame to myself because I wasn't able to react. I was paralyzed. I was frozen. And I cannot forget that scene. So I'm telling myself, here in 1 second, we can be in full hell if people decide to become violent from both sides, because it can go either way.
O que você descreve é muito triste. De certa maneira, você está falando, a situação foi piorando ainda antes do dia 7 de outubro, porque você já precisava esconder a sua cruz. Mas com o conflito, então os nervos ficaram muito mais a flor da pele, a gente fala em português, muito mais expostos. E eu queria saber se você tem alguma perspectiva pessoal em tudo isso que está acontecendo. Quer dizer, qual que é por que isso está acontecendo na sociedade israelense? Por que isso está acontecendo agora na sociedade israelense? Qual é a tua visão do que está acontecendo agora?
This is too early for me to have a synthetic thought. I went through different phases. In the beginning, this was the shock, and with the shock came the total incapability of expressing things in terms, in words. I mean, for weeks, I wasn't able to tell how I was feeling. And when people would write to me from all over the world, how are you doing? I don't know. I really don't know. I cannot find the word to express what I'm feeling. And now, I think still, I mean, there's a lot of fear because we don't know when this thing will come to an end. We don't know if the war will expand, actually. If it will include other countries. We don't know anything. And I don't know if we can trust the leadership of this country. One beautiful thing, Israel has shown that the best of this country doesn't need necessarily a good leadership, because at the level of civil society, it's been a miracle what's going on here. People organize, and they are sending things to soldiers. You know that in the beginning of the war, soldiers didn't even have their equipment for the war. They were sent to war, and then things would join them eventually. But the civil society has taken on responsibility and has done a tremendous job. So this is beautiful, because you see the potential. Israel is capable of miracles in terms of human powers and energies. But I don't know if we can trust those who are, the leaders, the current leaders of this country. I don't know. So I don't have. I think we have to take it in very little bites, one day at a time, and do the best we can. Tomorrow I'm going to attend the Hanukkah service, an interfaith Hanukkah lightning. Just to be there and to contribute something and to show that we are together, that we really want to live together in this land, and we want to show this, that Israel is really light to the nations. When I studied for my doctorate, it was on Zionism and poetry. I had to read the State of the Jews by Theodor Herzl, and he says, we have so much suffered among the Gentiles in Europe that we want to show that we are different, and we will give them full rights, and we will give even those members of our people who decided to convert to another religion, we will absorb them and we will welcome them, because we want to show that we are not like those who persecuted us. I'm not sure if this is exactly what those who are running the show here and now have in their minds.
E, ao mesmo tempo, estão lutando contra um inimigo que é terrorista e que não tem qualquer tipo de ética e qualquer tipo de limite, qualquer tipo de compromisso com a vida, não só do inimigo, com a vida do seu próprio povo e dos seus próprios cidadãos. E usam seus cidadãos como escudos humanos e tudo aquilo que a gente está assistindo com muita tristeza. Então, realmente, é um momento de enorme complexidade. Você fica dentro do Instituto Ratzbon, em Jerusalém, não é?
No. I studied my theology there, but I don't.
Você não trabalha lá?
No, it's 10 minutes walk from here.
Ok. Eu estou vendo que o final da nossa conversa começa a se aproximar e a gente precisa respeitar o horário, porque você precisa abrir a igreja, não é isso?
Yes, exactly. We have mass right now, but I just wanted to relate to what you just said, because it's true that this is not a war between two armies. This is a war between an army and a terrorist organization, and this is really horrible. The things that happened here on the first day of war, when Israel was attacked, it is beyond imagination. A total lack of humanity, and this is really horrible. So Israel has absolute right to defend itself and its citizens against these terrorists. The problem is that how can you achieve it without harming the civilian population? So this is a huge question, and I don't have an answer because I'm not a politician. I'm just a simple priest. But you are totally right. These are terrorists, and they have to be defeated.
Padre Beni, como você vê o futuro nesses últimos minutos de conversa? Qual que é a tua esperança? Qual que é o teu desejo para o futuro? E quais que são os poetas da língua hebraica que estão te trazendo inspiração neste momento?
My hope is for a miracle. It's that one day, as soon as this war will be over, everybody will gather together and say, where are we going to? What comes next? And we only have two choices, self-destruction or building up something new, which has never tried before. And I really hope that we will choose the second one. And poetry is, unfortunately, it's not going to be a very positive point, but I wrote a letter to a family of one of the guys who was killed on October the 7th. This guy is a real hero. His name is Aner. And this guy was in a shelter with his friends, and the terrorists from outside were throwing grenades into the shelter to kill them. Wow. And for 7 times, if not 8, this grenade came out because this guy was standing there and with his own hands was throwing them out. And it's caught on camera, so we have the whole video. And then the last time he ended up killed. So I wrote a letter to his parents, and I quoted a poem by Shaul Chernichovsky, which is one of the greatest Hebrew poets. And the poem says, it's called Re'i Adama. It's something that is always read during ceremonies, that we are actually wasting the best of our society, and we are bearing them. But instead of bearing seeds, which will become flowers, we are bearing the flowers themselves upside down. And I was really taking off from that letter, because from that poem, because I said to them that their son was really like a hope for this society. Somebody like this who is capable of putting his life in a second place in order to rescue other people's life is really worth of a lot of admiration. And hopefully I'm going to meet this family soon, and I want to give them a hug. 21 year, you don't have to die like this. This is not right.
Que essas flores que foram enterradas prematuramente, antes da hora, possam fazer alguma coisa lá embaixo da terra e fazer com que os frutos e as árvores eventualmente surjam e apareçam. Obrigado, Padre Beni, pelo teu tempo, pela tua disponibilidade.
Eu que agradeço.
E o teu português, eu sei, é maravilhoso, você consegue me compreender fluentemente, eu sei que você fala também várias línguas, e, enfim, nós estamos com você e com a comunidade cristã, católica em particular, de Israel, num momento difícil como esse. Você tem em nós, judeus da diáspora, também aliados, para que essa comunidade possa sempre florescer dentro de Israel, porque Israel precisa de todas as suas comunidades para continuar sendo um lugar de orgulho para todo mundo.
Amém.
Um abraço muito grande.
Muito obrigado. Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach. Feliz Hanukkah. Shalom.